This is the kind of electric scooter that makes daily rides feel easy because it stays predictable. I can grab it, roll out the door, and I already know exactly how it is going to behave on the street. This is the GXL Vitwo series electric scooter, and it sits right in that practical, entry-level commuter category. When I think about who it fits best, I think about someone like me when I first started riding electric scooters. I wanted something simple, stable, and not intimidating. It also works if you are a casual rider who just wants an easy way to get around the neighborhood without turning every ride into a project. If you are expecting a super high-speed machine or something built for rough off-road riding, this is not that. What it does well is repeatable, everyday transportation with a learning curve that feels friendly. In day-to-day use, the design is more functional than flashy, and that is honestly part of why I have kept it for so long. The deck feels straightforward to stand on, and the whole scooter has a balanced feel when I am rolling at a steady pace. One detail I appreciate more than I expected is where the battery sits. It is embedded down in the stem area, and that weight placement makes the scooter feel planted instead of top-heavy. On cracked sidewalks and uneven patches of road, that balance matters. It does not feel like it is trying to tip or wander when I hit small bumps or seams in the pavement. The tires are another part of the daily experience that you feel immediately. Mine originally came with air-filled tires, and for a long time that gave me a smoother ride than I expected from a scooter in this category. It soaked up the chatter from rough pavement pretty well, but I also learned the reality of air-filled tires the hard way. Around 2 years in, my rear tire popped. That is the moment where your relationship with maintenance gets real. I decided I did not want to deal with air pressure checks and the risk of another flat, so I switched the rear to a honeycomb-style tire that does not need air. The swap went smoother than I expected, and the ride feel stayed close enough that I did not regret it. I still got a comfortable ride, and I got peace of mind. If you are someone who hates surprise maintenance, that is the kind of change that can make ownership a lot easier. Getting up and running with this scooter has always felt uncomplicated. I remember the first time I set it up. It was more about getting comfortable with the controls and the feel of the throttle than wrestling with the scooter itself. On a typical ride, it starts moving in a way that feels manageable. The acceleration is not aggressive, and that is a good thing for commuter riding. It does not yank forward and make you tense up. It builds speed in a controlled way. For speed, it tops out at about 15 miles per hour. In real life, that number is more useful than it sounds on paper. 15 miles per hour is enough to keep a commute from feeling slow, and it is also slow enough that I still feel in control around pedestrians, street corners, and messy city pavement. I have ridden faster scooters, and I get why people want that, but for the way I ride, this speed makes sense. I can move with purpose without feeling like I am constantly one mistake away from trouble. The braking and general responsiveness are also where this scooter shows its commuter personality. It does what I ask without drama. When I need to slow down for a curb cut, a driveway, or a sudden crowd on a sidewalk, it responds in a way that feels consistent. Over time, that consistency is what builds trust. I do not want surprises from something I am riding in traffic. Battery life is one of those things that matters over months, not minutes, and my experience here is the main reason I still talk about this scooter. After 3 years of ownership, the battery has stayed reliable for me. I'm not saying it feels brand new, because any battery ages, but it has not turned into a headache. It still holds up for the kind of trips I actually do, like commuting across a few neighborhoods, running an errand, or doing a longer loop when I want a casual ride. What I notice most is that it has not become unpredictable. I do not leave home worried that the range is going to suddenly drop off in a weird way. I have also ridden it in plenty of less than perfect weather. I live in a place where rain is just part of life, and I have been caught out in it more times than I can count. This is not a scooter I would call truly waterproof, and I do not treat it like it is. I avoid deep puddles, I do not blast through standing water, and I wipe it down when I get home. With that level of caution, it has handled rainy rides without giving me problems. That is not a promise that nothing can ever happen. It is just my real experience after a lot of miles in mixed conditions. Lighting is where I think this scooter shows its budget roots the most, and it is also where I want to be very honest. The front headlight is fine for being seen, but it is not strong enough to make me confident about seeing everything ahead of me on a truly dark street. If you ride at night, you will want extra light. A handlebar light makes a huge difference because it actually throws light where you need it. The back is even more important. There is a reflector, but there is not a proper rear brake light. For night riding, that is not ideal. I solved it the same way a lot of riders do, with an aftermarket rear light and sometimes a helmet light if I know I will be out late. Once you do that, visibility feels a lot better, but I do wish it came that way out of the box. One concern I had before buying it was build quality. I knew it was manufactured in China, and I did not know if it would feel like a disposable gadget after a season. That worry basically disappeared once I had real time on it. It has taken daily wear, sidewalk bumps, rough pavement, and being folded and moved around over and over. It has held up better than I expected, and it has not developed the kind of scary looseness that makes you stop trusting a scooter. It still feels solid under my feet, which is the whole point. I also want to mention customer service, because it is part of ownership that people forget until they need it. The few times I reached out with questions and small issues, the support experience was actually helpful. I got clear answers and I did not feel ignored. When you are buying something you ride in traffic, that matters. You want to know the company will respond when something comes up. For real-world testing, I have used this scooter in the exact scenarios most people care about. Short commutes where I want to avoid waiting for a ride share, trips to grab coffee, runs to the store where walking would take too long, and casual rides around suburban streets where I just want to clear my head. In the city, it feels nimble enough to navigate bike lanes and crowded corners as long as you ride responsibly. In the suburbs, it is just relaxing. The ride is stable, the speed feels comfortable, and it is easy to hop on and off. One specific use case where it has been genuinely useful for me is the regular commute where I need something consistent. I can step outside, ride a few miles, lock it up, and not show up sweaty or exhausted. It saves time, it saves energy, and it makes the trip feel less stressful. That is the real benefit. Not excitement, not bragging rights, just a better routine. The smartest part of this scooter to me is not a fancy feature. It is the way the whole thing feels balanced and predictable, especially with the battery placement. That stability is what makes it easy to recommend to newer riders. I also appreciate how simple it is to live with. Once you understand its limits, it is not demanding. It is the kind of scooter that fades into your routine, which is exactly what a commuter scooter should do. So after 3 years, where do I land on the GXL VTWO series electric scooter? I still think it is a strong pick for someone who wants a dependable, entry-level scooter for commuting and casual rides. It is not for riders who want high-speed thrills, and it is not for someone who refuses to add a light for night riding. If you want something that feels stable, rides comfortably, and has proven to be reliable over time in my own use, this one has earned that reputation with me. I will leave all the information about the GXL VTWO series electric scooter in the comments. I hope to see you again in the following videos.